Hey guys, Stock Saturday, and it's another green week, about 3% up at 17,000. Very nice. I have made a rather large sale, which I will come back to. But yeah, 3% up compared to the S&P up 1.33%. So pretty happy with that. And the Nasdaq on the tech side slightly worse. I thought sort of seeing the 23 over 23,000 that would have done better this week, but yeah, took a bit of a hit on Tuesday it looks like, and sort of didn't really recover until the end of the week. So 0.64%. So yeah, 3%. Really happy with that. This has been largely on the crypto side, which I will come back to later on. But yeah, sort of Broadcom and TSMC all sort of up slightly. Vanguard Emerging Markets all, a couple of percent. Nothing too much, and I will be sort of taking a rather large hit to the overall total when I sort of withdraw probably all of this cash out of here, the ISA and the Interactive Brokers side, to pay off the mortgage. So yeah, all very exciting. But let's have a look at some news. So we have Evolution's results, one of my sort of smaller positions, but they do tend to report quite early, and this is often sort of a quiet period, so they are my only company reporting earnings this week. It starts to sort of get very busy in the next few weeks, but yeah, their results sort of look okay, nothing too drastic. Markets seem to like it quite a bit though. They launched their first studio in Asia, in the Philippines, or first ever live casino studio. And yeah, they entered Rhode Island in the US, an agreement with Hasbro. Quite interesting to get with a fairly big name, and another studio launched in Brazil. So they're very much global. Net revenues up 3.1% compared to this quarter last year, and the 6 monthly is also up 3.5% compared to last year. So yeah, not aggressive growth, I suppose, but not too bad. And yeah, on the profit side, it's a little bit worse. EBITDA almost exactly the same, 0.1% down, and net profit down 7.7% compared to this quarter last year. And the total, the 6 month total, is also down 6.6%. So yeah, come to that in a bit. So looking at the CEO's comments, he has made note of the currency. You get sort of US companies, I would have thought, not mentioning the currency side because it's gone in their favour. Obviously, Evolution being a sort of European-focused company, they have seen a negative effect of the currency. So yeah, constant currency, they're at 8.8% growth as opposed to 3.1%. We'll see sort of where that goes going forward. I would expect the dollar to sort of carry on weakening most likely, so have to sort of bear through that. But it isn't that bad because I am looking to possibly increase the Evolution position, albeit it has sort of increased in price a reasonable amount. They're saying deceleration of growth. It's still revenue growth, but growth slowing down a little due to sort of getting ahead of regulations, really. They're not wanting to, get hit by the regulators suddenly and sort of lose a load of business. So they're sort of ring fencing things in Europe and, basically I would have thought pulling out slightly of markets or changing how they operate, and that sort of results in not the aggressive growth that they have been doing. They do also say, he's not satisfied with this quarter's growth, and they are working hard to increase the pace. I was sort of, relatively happy with this, taking sort of proactive measures, and it's worth noting, even in a what they're calling a sort of slow growth, slightly rough quarter, you get 47.4% net profit. So when I started investing in them, it was more like sort of 56, close to 60, a little bit like CME Group, sort of striving for the 60%, but never sort of quite getting just up there. But still, even at 47.4, aside from CME Group, I believe that would put them the highest net profit percentage company in my portfolio. So you have to be pretty happy with that. So you had Live Casino growing a small amount since last quarter, down on October Q4 last year, and yeah, sort of up since Q2 this quarter last year, but yeah, sort of slow growth. And the RNG sort of slot side is flat, down on last quarter and Q4, but ever so slightly up on last quarter, this quarter last year rather. So yeah, 524 overall from 508. I'm fairly happy if this sort of is just steady for a little bit while they get the regulation side, a little bit more in line. And looking by region, so Europe decreased to 180 from 189 million euros, down on every quarter basically. Europe sort of seeing a little bit of pullback. This is sort of man-made pullback from the looks of it. And Asia increasing to 209, so that's quite a sharp increase. All these quarters sort of within a couple of million, and then 7 million increase. So that's very nice. North America is what's that? Nearly 25% up on this quarter last year. So very, very strong growth. And Latin America pretty much flat. Other sort of up 20%, even though it's only a very small segment. And the share of regulated markets, that's, I suppose, what we should be focused on, because the unregulated side is always seen as risky and, good profit while you've got it, but you can't bank on it staying there forever. And as you can see, they're having to sort of make pullbacks and ring fencing and sort of changes to it. So I sort of do see it as good while it's there. But it won't always be there. The share this quarter dropped 1%, but it was 39%. So this quarter last year, 44 is very, very nice. And yeah, 232 million compared to 199. So that's sort of 15%, just over 15% growth on this quarter last year. Very nice. Just looking at their breakdown as well, there's nothing sort of too surprising in here. They're sort of increasing studios and things, so personnel expenses increased, depreciation increased, and other operating expenses increased. They also had some financial items. It could be sort of on the FX side. Never really sort of focus all that much on financial items unless it's a drastic change. This is positive 6 million to minus 11 million, but yeah, there's nothing sort of huge there. Quite a bit of tax, obviously, because they make a lot of money. And average shares down from 211 million to just under 204 million. So nice little bit of buybacks, and that's average number of shares, of course. So I presume we are possibly under 204 million. But yeah, I'm not sure whether we can get the right up-to-date numbers. So yeah, that's very strong. Do like the buybacks while they've been, at a somewhat depressed price, certainly depressed multiple. And then balance sheet wise, you got sort of goodwill increasing slightly as they're sort of making small acquisitions. Didn't look like they'd done anything too much. This was sort of previous quarter. Doesn't look like they've done anything significant this quarter. And yeah, property, plant and equipment. So they're building their own stuff as well as just buying. Yeah, up to 150 million. Cash down to 505 million from from 6 months ago, 801 million. So they have been building quite a bit, and those acquisitions as well. Presume that's where some of that has gone, certainly. But they obviously have no debt. 969 million in current liabilities, most of that tax, and 255 in non-current liabilities, which is just a mix of small stuff. They've got 500 million in cash, so quite easy to pay for that, and the tax is very easily coverable. So overall, quite like what I'm seeing. Bit of a sort of rest period, which while my position is at, what are we at? £6,800. Would quite like, if possible, if it doesn't sort of rocket up too much, to be increasing that quite a bit with some of the crypto money over the next sort of few months. So yeah, maybe a quiet period would be very nice, and this sort of net profit can potentially come back up sort of over, anything over 50% is very nice for me. So yeah, loving it. So moving on to Fresnillo, it's not earnings yet, it's just production numbers, but production is, you can basically get the earnings numbers from production, and, we know the price. This is price up to the end of June, so it always surprises me that, the analysts get minor earnings sort of so wrong, because you essentially know how much money they've made, basically, but seems to happen. But we got silver, 12 million ounces, up from 11.9, so fairly small change from first quarter. Quite a large drop from this quarter last year, 14 million. They had part of the San Julian mine shut down basically last year, so yeah, that's a bit of a hit, but they obviously are still the largest miner in the world. So yeah, you can't have all of this stuff running, forever. And they were opening new sort of gold, pushing a little bit more into gold over the last year. So yeah, gold at 157,000 ounces. What was that? 1,600 ounces up from previous quarter, and 21% up from this quarter last year. So very, very strong on the gold side, which, while we've been having incredibly high gold price, is pretty good. Silver sort of not really running just yet. So that's pretty strong, and a little bit from the silver stream, the stream side. So pretty good. Lead and zinc. Zinc up quite a bit, 12% from last quarter, but sort of down, both lead and zinc both down on last year. As is the case with mining, unfortunately, as well, being a very, very large miner, this is going to happen. They reported the loss of 2 colleagues, unfortunately, in 2 separate fatal incidents. So yeah, not great at all to be sort of owning a company with people dying. You can have poor results, or sort of people committing crimes and financial crimes, but yeah, never normally see people dying sort of outside of the more dangerous industries, mining and sort of energy side people do as well. But yeah, that's very sad to hear. On the 2025 outlook, though, they're saying attributable silver production in the range of 49 to 56 million ounces. So the first 2 quarters, adding those 2 up, is 24.9. So if you sort of double that, we're in the very low part of this range, sort of 49.8 million. So they're saying guidance in line. They're basically expecting a very strong second half of the year, so that's pretty good. Also looks like expecting a weak second half of the year on gold, because We're at on the 6 monthly, we're at 315,000 ounces. So yeah, if you double that, you're sort of 630, and they're saying, maximum 580,000 for the year. So yeah, expecting a fairly weak second half on the gold side. Low side, nearly 100,000 below that. So yeah, it's been a good run for gold production by the looks of it. And if I'm going to hold these sort of reasonably longer term, I was kind of thinking maybe sell out of a lot of the gold stuff over the next year and get more into sort of main, semiconductor stocks and industrials and all that sort of thing, and sort of not be hedging basically with gold. But if we're getting monetary inflation out the wazoo, endless printing, then maybe you do want to stay in some gold and silver, especially sort of silver deficits still looking strong going forward. Expect silver to do well, so probably will stay in Fresnillo a little bit longer than I expected. Might take some profit, of course, over the period, but yeah, I have to see. But 2026 and 27 production being unchanged is very good, because that was close to 50 million ounces of silver, and that is a hell of a lot. So speaking of semiconductors and US industrial side, they have an AI plan to cut red tape and partisan bias. Not really sure I'd go far as to say partisan bias. The Biden administration did unveil the CHIPS Act, so he sort of started the onshoring boom before Trump came in. But yeah, they've sort of announced this. This potentially puts an enormous amount of investment into the US. You also had the Japanese trade deal for they've announced, I think, 550 billion of a fund that it sounds like America get to almost do what they want with, investing in new infrastructure and data centers potentially, but Japan would own whatever is built from the sounds of it. So quite an interesting development. Did seem like the Japanese trade deal, Japan themselves didn't actually get that much out of it, but yeah, that was just maybe on the face of it. This thing's going on behind the scenes. Fairly minor bit of news as well. We sort of get these every week or so. Hive Digital added another 1 exahash of power. So yeah, they were at sort of 11 at the beginning of the month. It went to 12 sort of a week or so ago. They're now at 13. They're saying 300 million in annualized revenue run rate. So yeah, it's almost impossible to sort of predict annualized revenue because it's changing all the time. But yeah, they've sort of made an estimate. And yeah, 6.5 Bitcoin mined daily, so that is quite strong, to be fair. They're putting in S21 hydro miners, and they're still saying 18 exahash by the end of August, so about 5 weeks away. So I'm guessing we're going to get an update at 14, 15, 16 and so on. They do love a bit of that. I did note as well they're sort of projecting efficiency goals as well, sort of getting to 17.5 joules per terahash by US Thanksgiving. So yeah, that would be very nice. Mining margins near 60%, although you've got hash rate increasing quite a bit from the looks of it, and difficulty increasing, so it might not be 60%, but yeah, certainly a reasonably large increase in Bitcoin price in the sort of short to medium term would do Hive a great deal, because they don't really have a lot on the AI side, and yeah, that's the only thing that's gonna really push them. So looking at some economic news, we had a sort of fairly slow start to the week. Nothing really sort of until Thursday, where we got UK July PMI numbers, sort of not the ISM numbers, but it's just their sort of general, and it was again looking relatively weak. Services lower than expected, composite lower than expected, manufacturing a little bit higher but still under 50, so that's not great. The EU held interest rates where they were, although they're at 2.15%, so yeah, far lower than UK and US. So that's still pretty dovish and pretty good for risk assets. US jobless claims both lower than expected, although still continuing jobless claims almost 2 million is sort of relatively high, but initial, it's sort of same again. Not that many people are losing their job per week, but the ones that aren't finding a job. And yeah, then Friday we had some very weak retail sales numbers, not looking good at all. Core sort of not too bad, 1.8%, but yeah, that's year on year, and that's still not including inflation. So if we've got inflation at 3.8%, I think we're at now, then yeah, that's essentially a decline in real terms. And yeah, the headline was 1.7, so basically the same. So portfolio-wise, not a huge amount of change in the ISA. Clean Spark sort of barely moving, is slightly down from last week. Obviously, no AI side for them. It's all in on Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is slightly down after a large whale has sold 80,000 Bitcoin, which we'll have a look at tomorrow. Yeah, Kerr Mining, 928, not too bad. Could really do with a silver breakout. Dropped nearly $1 yesterday. Riot Platforms, though, wondering if they're sort of getting closer to an AI deal potentially, and to some insiders or sort of people in the know buying, because they had quite a move up, even on sort of a falling Bitcoin price. So that was pretty good. Fresnillo dropping down, obviously. Equinox not looking too bad, and yeah, some of the others sort of not a huge amount of move. Pan American still at 29, sort of hovering above 28 to 30 range really. KGHM looking a little better, so yeah, it's about 1,500 quid I think on this account in the last sort of couple of weeks. And yes, the invest side, so you'll note 24,400 in cash compared to 7,700 I think last week. So Monday we had an enormous spike to about $21.30 on IREN on almost no news. It wasn't even really a Bitcoin spike, so it seemed very odd. And yeah, with no sort of news announced and no Bitcoin price rise, I decided to take quite a bit of profit on my IREN position. Sold 40 contracts, out of 360, just over 10%. So I didn't see that as a huge sale really. And the ones I was selling were sort of 1,500% or 15x up. This is 8x overall. I've got some that I bought at higher prices and are sort of more, 500-600% in the green. So yeah, I thought that was a very sensible sale. And obviously we're, down from $21.30 to $17.70 in price. So yeah, seems to have been a sensible sale. Hive, despite being not really up on the week at all, I think there's just put some volatility into them, and people now starting to look potentially up at price rather than down. So they've increased, the options have increased quite a bit without the stock sort of moving a huge amount, practically in the green, which I thought I would never say. Kerr Mining, yeah, looking nice. They're up sort of about 700 quid this week on the option side. Equinox down. Himax sort of moved about 100 quid, I think. They need some TSMC or Nvidia news, I think. Similarly with, yeah, I said Riot are I've been up quite a bit, sort of similar to Hive really, and IREN on sort of no news. But yeah, they're sort of now 16% in the red, where they were at sort of 40, 50, 60% in the red. So yeah, between them and Hive, sort of 4,000 in the red. I think that's looking rather good. Could have pretty much all of these in the green, with sort of a couple of good weeks, which would be very nice. Cypher down slightly, and Clean Spark is sort of very, very small position. That's gone into the red again. So yeah, interesting. We'll have to see. That probably all of this cash will be coming out shortly to, as I say, pay for the mortgage, and yeah, obviously have a bit of tax to pay on that as well. So have to sort of set aside some. So yeah, looking nice for the week. So let me know your thoughts in the comments, how you guys are doing, if you got any of this nice gain, and yeah, like and subscribe. See you soon.